Okay, so I'm like very open-minded. I'm very much like, try everything once, fun things twice, you know? So I did mushrooms 6 times, okay? Yeah, Burning Man was awesome, okay? But I didn't know how it all worked, right? So like I got on the plane, I was flying out there with another comedian who's also a DJ, just to give you an idea of her vibe. She gets on the plane, she sits down next to me and she's like, I have $1,500 worth of drugs. I know, I was like, that is so much weed. And she's like, none of it's weed.
Going out, I don't party anymore. I supervise.
Please welcome to the stage, Kaycee Conlee!
Incredible. Thank you guys for coming out. Do I have to say it? I'm a lesbian. Here we go. You have eyes. We can see it. Even some stuff you can't see. I drove here in a Subaru. All checks out. It all checks out. Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I have a hard time finding clothes I like. So I've been getting like my jeans at American Eagle for like as long as I can remember. One laugh, thank you, okay. It was like a scoff. Honestly, that's true. I'm too old for that store, okay? And I know this because I used to work there when I was in my 20s. I used to work at American Eagle. I was very deep in the closet. Yeah, I know. And so like every time I go in there, I'm like looking at the associates, like their little closeted gays. They'll come up to me like, do you need help? And I'm like, do you need help? I got you. I'll save you. But I actually had to stop shopping there because of this. My wife and I were in there shopping one time together. That's right, my wife and I shop together. We share a wardrobe. You should be gay. It's awesome. But we were in there shopping. We had a bunch of clothes. We walked back to the fitting room. And we were like, we want to try on together. And the associate looked at us and was like, I can't let you go in together. Right? And immediately, I don't know, something like flipped, a switch flipped immediately. I was just like, this is insane. This is a hate crime. It's because we're gay, we can't go in there together. I went full Karen, you guys. I was like, where's the manager? The associate was like, no, it's not because you're gay. She was like, we can't let any couples in there. People have been hooking up in there. So then I had to like walk it back, but I was also kind of flattered. Because I was like, we're married. We're not gonna hook up in there. We barely hook up at home. Right? Like, we're more likely to clean up in there. Like, give me a steamer, put me to work, let's go. Absolutely insane. Yeah, so I can't go back. There's no chance, I can't. But a lot of weird stuff like that has happened to me. Like, have you guys ever broken something that wasn't yours? Yeah. Yes? Yeah, and I don't mean like at Target where you can just be like, I recently was staying at a friend's house. They were like away. I was like house sitting, and I broke a wine glass. And it was I did the right thing. Okay, I sent a picture, and I was like, I'm so sorry. I will get you a new one. And they wrote back, okay, and they sent me a link. I was like, this is not the social contract. I don't. Like, I say I'm sorry. You're like, no big deal, and then it's like we're good to go. The craziest part, it was $200. Yes, they only come in sets of 6. I was like, I broke one, need I remind you? It's crazy. But I ended up, I sucked it up, I did the right thing, I ended the friendship. Yes, my people, we get our wine glasses at TJ Maxx. Yeah. Join us. Savers. Yeah, so I've been married for a little while, and we don't go out like we used to, but every once in a while I'll try to dial it up. And we were in Vegas recently, and I was like, we should go to a strip club, okay? My wife agreed. This was clearly my idea, you guys. Like, her idea of a good time is like a glass of wine and a Hallmark movie. So this was me. She was like, okay, I'll do it. Neither of us had ever been. I was like, this will be awesome. We like the same things, right? So she was like, you figure it out. So I talked to the concierge, okay? They set up a car. We're standing on the curb. This big black tinted window SUV pulls up, right? And we get in, and we're the only 2 in there. And I start freaking out. I'm like, we're gonna die trying to see naked parts that we have. like, this is not worth it. We should just get a mirror, right? This is crazy. But we end up getting to the club. And of course, they sit up right, like, they seat us right up on the front of the stage, right? And so, like, I've never been there before. I'm trying to act like a natural, right? I've seen movies. I'm, like, probably making too much eye contact, right? Just, like, locking in, waiting for them to look away to take a peek. Just like, this is very nice. Do you stretch before this? You're very flexible. Just being way too polite. I look over at my wife. She's just stacking the bills in neat piles on the stage. She's not even looking. She's like, yep, you just get those when you're done. She's like, no, you can use your hands. Use your hands. My people. Sometimes it's a little lost. Okay. So I look over, I see this, and I'm like, babe, you're gonna give us away, right? Act like you've been here before. I'm like, lock it up. And she looks back at me and she goes, I don't want to disrespect them. Have kinder words ever been uttered in a Vegas strip club? Okay, listen, word spread like wildfire. My wife motorboated every woman in that place. Yeah, they were just like, oh, sweetie, I respect you too. It was crazy. So if you're curious, the cheat codes, respect. That's what you got to talk about at the strip club. That's how you fix it. Look, I know we've spent a few minutes together. I don't know if you guys can tell that it's not my brand. I did go to Burning Man last year. Yeah, you guys are like, what? Why? If you're not familiar with Burning Man, it's like a festival out in the desert where rich white people go to do drugs. Yeah, which is crazy because they're rich and white. They could do drugs anywhere. But yeah, it's this big festival, and like, it's not my brand. I'm less Burning Man and more burning bras, right? I think we can agree it's not my. But yeah, but I knew I didn't fit because when I was packing, I'm for sure the only one that brought floss. I wore my night guard every night. But I got to go for stand-up. They brought me out there to do comedy at Burning Man. Yeah, thank you. It was really cool. It was very cool. I like to say I went on scholarship. But I was freaked out. I didn't know what to bring. I didn't know what to pack. And so I tried to treat it like camping, right? Like lesbians, we know how to camp, for sure. And so I was like, you pack your fears, right? So I was like, for example, if you're afraid you're gonna be cold, you might pack extra layers. If you're afraid you'll be hungry, you might pack snacks, right? I packed mace. That's right, because I'm afraid of people, okay? But no, it was, okay, so I'm like very open-minded. I'm very much like, try everything once, fun things twice, you know? So I did mushrooms 6 times, okay? Yeah, Burning Man was awesome, okay? But I didn't know how it all worked, right? So like I got on the plane, I was flying out there with another comedian who's also a DJ, just to give you an idea of her vibe. She gets on the plane, she sits down next to me and she's like, I have $1,500 worth of drugs. I know, I was like, that is so much weed. And she's like, none of it's weed. Yeah, my little naive brain is like, what else is there? And she starts being like, ketamine. You know, and I was, Molly, I was like, isn't that for horses? What's... Let's freak out. She's like, I'll teach you. So she was like my little drug mentor, my drug sensei, the opposite of the DARE program.